With the UFC Paramount debut less than 2 months away and nasty rumors floating about that Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes is going to headline, I am here to create the perfect UFC 324 fight card. I'm going to start from the first fight of the night and then work all the way up to making the magical main event to kick things off right for the Paramount debut. Let's jump into the first fight. All right. So for Paramount, we need to showcase a prospect that I think has a lot of upside. Some might not know who he is yet, but I promise you, you will after UFC 324. Hetcher Sosa versus Chris Moutinho. Is it a layup for Hetcher Sosa? Absolutely. He's a Spanish prospect. He was fighting out of Ilia Toporia's WOW FC, and he made a splash on Contender Series, beating like a 6'3" bantamweight. This guy can box. This guy has power, and his style is forward pressure and big punch combinations. Now, he's not exactly a Ilia Topuria doppelganger style, but there are positive comparisons to be had with the way he closes that gap and rips hard shots. And I think that this would be a great way to start off the Paramount deal. Somebody that seems to have some upside that I could see making some waves in the bantamweight division against a guy who, let's face it, is a UFC opponent. They put Chris Moutinho on cards to deliver entertainment. Not for him to necessarily bring it, but his style does allow for people to get highlight reel knockouts against him. And I think Hetcher Sosa in a bit of a layup fight, starting things off on this card with a nice knockout to kick Paramount off and to kick off Hetcher Sosa's UFC career. That's how we start. That's fight number one. This spoke to me right away. I said, we need to see Hetcher Sosa, who was a standout prospect from Contender Series this past season, versus Chris Moutinho, who, you know, they're looking to build Hetcher Sosa off of. Sorry, Chris Moutinho, but unfortunately, this is how the UFC goes, all right? Second fight on the card, I want another Contender Series prospect. I want Damian Pinnas on the card. Guy's got sensational knockout power. Guy looks sick on Contender Series, taking out a Fighting Nerds prospect. And Robert Valentin saying he's ready to turn around pretty quick. He pulled out of the Jackson McVeigh fight a couple weeks ago. By the time the UFC 324 fight card is amongst us, I feel like he could jump in. And you might be thinking, what? But Valentin, though, and two prospects debuting back-to-back, yes, let me tell you why. Because I think we have two prospects that the UFC could invest in and build some entertainment value. Pinnas and Hetcher Sosa are both violent, striking, focused fighters. Pinnas, even more crazy with the pressure he puts on. A little bit more reckless, too. And Robert Valentin obviously got destroyed by Ateba Gautier. He's 0-3 in the UFC. I mean, dude, he lost to Ryan Loder. At this point, his UFC career seems to be, you know, on the way out sooner rather than later. But for some reason, they keep him on the roster. He was supposed to fight Jackson McVeigh, who was 0-1 in the UFC. But I think that would kind of be a waste. I would rather see him face off against somebody with some upside. And because he pulled out of that fight on fight week and the UFC had to scramble to make something happen, they're like, you know, we'll keep you on the roster. Here's Damian Pinnas, a hard-hitting savage to fight against in fight number 4. And I like Robert Valentin. I was a fan of him throughout The Ultimate Fighter. But there is no love lost when it comes to my matchmaking for building the perfect UFC cards. And unfortunately, he's a sacrificial lamb. Maybe Karate Combat will pick him up after the fact, and he can get some wins over there against lower-level guys. I like back-to-back Contender Series debutants. I want to see them build them on this card. And I like Damian Pinnas, and I like Hetcher Sosa because of the likelihood of knockouts. I think that this prelim, the first two fights, should be highlight reel knockout potential fights or badass back-and-forth banger. Honestly, though, it's going to be highlight reel knockouts on both sides. To be fair, I would predict them both to be like minus 300 favorites, but they should be. They should be. They should do it like this. They could scramble the matchup. It could be this first, and then Hetcher Sosa, Chris Moutinho second. Regardless, the bout order isn't that important for the early prelims. But as far as who is on it, yes. Yes, this is a good way to kick it. Now, fight number 3, okay? I'm going to actually throw out a battle of, you know, veteran women that have some upside. Casey O'Neill coming off the big Luana Santos win. Gabriela Fernandez, big upset against Kong Wang, beat Julia Stoliarenko, but was kind of underwhelming. But you have to give Gabriela Fernandez a shot to fight one of the better women in the world right now. I mean, they gave Kong Wang whatever she wanted. Like, they still tried to build her even after the loss. I think that you have to consider the side of Casey O'Neill, who doesn't really have a ton of hype in the division. Let's be honest. Like, she beat Luana Santos, which is nice and all, but I just don't think Casey O'Neill is all that. I mean, Ariane De Silva beat her. Jennifer Maia beat her. Like, she's holding a roster spot for sure. She's definitely a girl that'll stick around. But as far as a ranked position, she's ranked number 11. I think Gabriela Fernandez versus Casey O'Neill would be a fun way to kick things off on this card. And you might be saying to yourself, wait, but why don't they do Kong Wang versus Casey O'Neill? Because I think they are going to save Kong Wang for international events. I'm not too sure that they're going to kick her off on the Paramount deal, bringing her stateside. Now, I could be wrong. And if they did Casey O'Neill versus Kong Wang, that actually might be cooler because that's kind of the way they want to build, right? They're sculpting Kong Wang into somebody. But I look at it like this. Why they might evade that matchup? Because of Casey O'Neill's grappling ability. I look at Gabriela Fernandez and I'm like, okay, she has good Muay Thai and her grappling defense is decent. She's not, a spectacular grappler, but she's not bad on the ground. Casey O'Neill brings a pretty good grappling threat. But either way, Gabriela Fernandez is the girl with the more entertainment value and upside. If they did Casey O'Neill versus Kong Wang, there is a real chance that the kickboxer gets grapple fucked. And I think there is a chance that Kong Wang is going to be consistently put in favorable type matchups. Not saying she doesn't beat Casey O'Neill, but I do have to say I think Gabriela Fernandez is a woman that deserves a little push too. I mean, she went out there and she beat Kong Wang by finish. Yes, the Stoliarenko fight was not as hype, not as impressive, but let's be real. Stoliarenko was in a defensive shell, just in survival mode. Kong Wang is trying to beat her ass. It's interesting, though. Kong Wang definitely is in the UFC's good graces because she's got 2 fights since that point, losing to Gabriela Fernandez. She beat Bruna Brazil, and she beat Ariane De Silva. And she's ranked already at number 12 with Casey O'Neill at 11. But I think Gabriela Fernandez, not having lost since that fight or anything like that, should get a Casey O'Neill type matchup. But this one could flip. And it could be, if they want to bring Kong Wang stateside, I think you could do Casey O'Neill versus Kong Wang, but she's a girl that they want to build on some of these Asia cards, and I think she's going to be fighting more on the international events. Remains to be seen. We'll see. This is a matchup that I could see the UFC either going Casey O'Neill, Gabriela Fernandez, or Casey O'Neill versus Wong Kang. Either one works for me, but I'll put Gabriela Fernandez as the official call because I just got a feeling it is a tad bit more likely that they book this matchup. Next up is a prospect who's on the rise versus a contender contender's a reach. A gatekeeper who at one point was considered to be a future contender. I really like Jacoby Smith versus Chaos Williams. Chaos Williams just got fucking dominated by Gustafsson. And Andreas Gustafsson, his hype has literally died after Renat Fakhridiyov destroyed him in 40 seconds. I feel like Jacoby Smith is a prospect with a lot of upside. 2-0 in the UFC, has power, coming off that big win against Nico Price. Obviously, Chaos Williams knocks out a Nico Price too. How I view it is Chaos Williams is somebody that came in with hype early, but kind of died off quick, okay? Like the recent fights, lost to Gustafsson, lost to Bonfim. He's fallen off, and actually, Chaos Williams doesn't have a win over Nico Price, by the way. I'm kind of meaning that he could, but he did have like a quick knockout of Alex Morono, a quick knockout of Abdul Razak Al Hassan, and Abdul Razak Al Hassan destroyed Nico Price a long time ago. I feel like Jacoby Smith, this is the right test. This is the right test now. He's 2-0 in the UFC. Jacoby Smith is a prospect, but we have to keep it a buck with Jacoby Smith. Freak athlete, big knockout power, and a ton of upside and potential. But he's a 29-year-old prospect. He's 11-0. I view a guy at 11-0 and a guy at 29 as in a position where it's like, okay, you're entering your prime now. He should fight against Chaos Williams, and then he will be on the cusp of getting a ranked contender thereafter. As opposed to, giving him a guy who's, got maybe 0-2 UFC records and just give him a T-ball and just hit the home run, you know? There could be Jacoby Smith versus like a Nikolay Veretinikov, but like that win means fuck. I would rather have a win that has merit and holds weight with Jacoby Smith versus Chaos Williams, because forthcoming, that victory should push him up the ranks a little faster. And a win against Chaos Williams is actually a decent win. A win against Veretinikov doesn't mean anything. A win against some random doesn't mean anything. And I think it's time that Jacoby Smith gets really put to the test and fighting a guy in Chaos Williams that has some punching power, but obviously has flaws in defensive wrestling, obviously has flaws in his combination punching, cardio, and technicality, but has the overwhelming knockout chance against anybody. Kind of like a Deontay Wilder. The technique isn't there, but the power is. Not to the same level as Wilder, of course, but there are comparisons to be had. I think Jacoby Smith should go out and run through him, and I like the chance for on 324, another guy that I think the UFC should invest in. He's a good welterweight prospect with a high-level American wrestling background, and bro, I want to see some of my American wrestlers do well, and I want to watch Jacoby Smith move up the ranks and, he looks like he's got the talent to be like a Tyron Woodley type. I could see him in the top 15 for sure. And I think this is the battle. I want to see where he's at. If he goes out and wins a competitive fight against Chaos, it's like, okay, we know maybe he's not of that elite caliber. But if he goes out and destroys Chaos Williams, he finishes him. If he finishes Chaos Williams, Jacoby Smith is one to watch. And that's what I want to see. I want to see him finish Chaos. And I think this would be the right way to continue building up the Paramount card. We have prospect fight with debutants, right? Then you have a ladies fight that's ranked, and then you have like a prospect fight that it's like, okay, this is exciting. You might be thinking, oh, but why is the ladies ranked fight third fight in the prelims? Where it's a ladies ranked fight at 125 and neither's in the top 10, the top 15. Just because you have a ranking next to your name in the top 15, especially in the women's division, doesn't mean you should be placed ahead on the card versus, prospect here to watch and, kind of at this point, guy that's seeming like he's fallen off in Chaos Williams. So that's the fight that I want to see. Next up. This is the #1 contender fight for the women's bantamweight belt. And there's a reason I think it should be on the card that I'll explain a little later. But Norma Dumont versus Yana Santos. Yana Santos has quietly won 3 fights in a row, and obviously Norma Dumont's on a tear. Now, granted, that Ketlin Vieira fight was a bit of a toss-up decision. But at the end of the day, she still got the win. And she should be next in line for the title. But with, the likelihood of a Kayla Harrison and Amanda Nunes being what's next, Norma Dumont needs one more. And I think on this Paramount card, for the reason of started off right on the Paramount card, building, on the prelim, some hype on Dumont, especially if she dominates Yana Santos and then she makes a call out to fight for the belt, and maybe there's a title fight later between bantamweight women. I don't know. We'll get to the main card soon. I want to see Norma Dumont and Yana Santos because right now they got upside. They both have a lot of upside. And you might be thinking, oh, but Raquel Pennington, though, they were supposed to fight, her and Norma Dumont. Pennington just got surgery 3 weeks ago, dude. I pay attention to these things. Yana Santos, I think she's ready to go. And I'm looking at the weight class and I'm thinking, yeah, that's the fight. Norma Dumont ranked number 3. Yana Santos ranked number 5. Yana Santos 3-fight win streak, right? You look at the side of Norma Dumont. I mean, the win streak is how many now? Is it 6? She has won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fights in a row. That's serious. And last fight, Yana Santos did get a win over the girl who had beaten Norma Dumont, Macy Chiasson, back 7 fights ago. So I think this matchup for the winner then probably in line for the title, it needs to be. And neither of these women have fought for the belt. I'm kind of sick of the Juliana Pena, Raquel Pennington, rinse, repeat title shot type crap. You know what I'm saying? I don't need to see that. I want to see something new. And the winner of this fight should be fighting for the belt. And it should be on the prelims because it's not a main card fight. But it is a good prelim fight. Especially it's not going to be a main card fight for the stacked 324 Paramount debut. This is not some finicky average fight. This is not some random matchup. This is not some random card. This is not an Apex event. This is not a fight night. This is the debut on Paramount. This carries weight because new fans that watch for a first time, they're like, hey, the winner of this fight's probably fighting the winner of another fight that is for the belt soon. Okay, you know what I'm saying? We'll go on this matchup right here. And I like the chance of either one of these ladies getting a world title fight next. Now, after we keep moving up, I'm telling you, I want to stack this card. I don't want this to be some finicky, mediocre card. This has to be a card filled with some serious talent and some high stakes matchups. Up next, we're going Ateba Gatier versus Kelvin Gastelum. It's time. Ateba Gatier's been can crushing, and he is destroying cans. And Kelvin Gastelum has a steel chin. Never been knocked out before. I would like to see if Ateba Gatier could be the first guy to knock him out. And I feel like this is a card. You need Ateba Gatier on this card because he is a star-studded prospect. And you need him to fight somebody that isn't a scrub. Because I thought about him, like, should I give Ateba Gatier Zach Reese? But it's like, why? We know what's going to happen. I would rather wonder, wait, could Kelvin Gastelum box with him? Could Kelvin take him down? I don't think he will. I think Ateba Gatier probably destroys Gastelum. And I think Ateba Gatier could be the first guy to knock Gastelum out. You'll have to give Ateba Gatier a shot on this card. He needs a showcase fight. And being on the prelims, they could potentially move him to featured prelim. There's a chance that he's in a bigger spot than I have him on this card. But I think regardless, he needs to be on this card. He needs to be well promoted. He needs to showcase his skill set on Paramount. I'm telling you right now, this is a matchup that I think delivers violence. And I really feel like there is a question of could Ateba Gatier be the first guy to ever knock Kelvin Gastelum out? And I want to find out when we kick off Paramount if that's going to be true. I need to find it out. Kelvin Gastelum struggled with Dustin Stoltzfus a bit last time. And Ateba Gatier has been looking like a destroyer of worlds fighting mids. It's time we step it up to an old guard, to a tough old gatekeeper. Not that Kelvin is old in years, but as far as years of competition, he's old. And I think that him and Ateba Gatier facing off on the prelims of the Paramount debut is the right way to do it. Kelvin Gastelum, former Ultimate Fighter winner, has been in a Hall of Fame fight against Adesanya. He's a, OG savage of this game. But he's towards the final phase. And Ateba Gatier is in his mid-20s, not even really. He's like 24. He might be 25 at the time this card comes around. Let's do this fight. Let's do this fight. Let's give Ateba Gatier the chance to thrive, shine, and show out. I need to see it. I need to see it. I have to see it. Next fight. What we're going to do is we're going to put together a flyweight banger. It needs to happen. We need Steve Erceg versus Charles Johnson. We need it. Steve Erceg looked in a bit of trouble against Ode Osborne last time. He struggled a bit with Ode Osborne. And I feel like when I look at this one, I'm thinking to myself, Charles Johnson could pose some threats to him as well. I would like to see how this matchup would look. I want to see this fight take place. Charles Johnson, he is a 5-round specialist. Unfortunately, he's not at the level where he's fighting 5-round fights. But I do think if he beats Steve Erceg, he's now in the mix, and he deserves it. He just fraud check. He didn't really fraud check. Lawner Kavanaugh's good, but he just beat Lawner Kavanaugh. I predicted him to beat Lawner Kavanaugh, and people slept on me with that call. He's ranked number 13. Erceg ranked number 10. Erceg holds a number 10 spot, but his last fight was sleepy against Ode Osborne. He won a close decision. And to be fair, a while ago, Charles Johnson actually lost a split decision to Ode. But regardless, Charles Johnson, he's on a tear. Charles Johnson's a problem, man. If you look at Charles Johnson, the one loss is to Ramazan Temirov. He pops for PEDs. So let's just delete that fight. Wins for him, they're crazy good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-1 in his last 6, and that one loss is to a guy that tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs. So you delete that fight, it's 5-1 whatever. Versus Steve Erceg, who got rushed up the ranks too fast, who gave Pantoja a hell of a fight. I got to be honest with you. Steve Erceg was amazing in that fight. But he's 1-3 in his last 4 fights. And his win against Ode Osborne wasn't that convincing. And he's still ranked at number 10 in the world. I want to see them give Charles Johnson a chance to break into the top 10. He's been paying his dues in this weight class, fighting anybody and everybody. And I want to see how this matchup would look. And I think both guys who, they both fought in August, I think they're both going to be ready to go. And, let's not make Charles Johnson fly to Asia for a fight. Let's have Steve Erceg come back to the States and fight against Charles Johnson. This is the matchup I need to see. We have to do this. We have to test Steve Erceg. If he wins against Charles Johnson, that is a big deal. A win against Charles Johnson is massive at this point. And I think if he beats Steve Erceg, now Charles Johnson finally breaks into the top 10, and maybe he can get a fight night 5-round main event so you guys can see this 5-round cardio. I'm telling you, Charles Johnson is a nightmare in 5-round fights. Fortunately, he hasn't got the chance to show it. Could he outpace Steve Erceg? Could he win a close decision here? I think he could. I think he could outstrike him. I think he could stop takedowns. I think he could threaten with bigger shots. I want to see Charles Johnson and Steve Erceg. This is such the fight to make. The UFC, I hope somebody sees this. And I hope somebody's like, yo, AJ's right. We need to do this. We need to make this happen. I need to see what happens between the two. I think Charles Johnson is live to win. I really, really hope the UFC puts this thing together. I really, really hope that we see it. It's a fight that should happen next. Absolutely should happen. And I think on this card, it's the right way to kick things off in kind of a big way. Okay? Next fight on the card. This fight is actually already booked. If you guys are in the known, you've seen. Nikita Krylov and Modestas Bukauskas is currently the only fight on UFC 324. I'm a big Modestas Bukauskas fan. I predicted that he would fight Kute Laba, and he went out and he won. I've picked him a lot on the return to the UFC. He's getting a fight against Nikita Krylov, who's ranked, what, number 13 in the world. Bukauskas, to me, is a top 15 talent. Bukauskas, to me, is somebody to watch. And I look at the side of Nikita Krylov. He's losing to, Gushkov. Gushkov is great, but he got destroyed there. And he's kind of just, going out there trying to slug. Losing by knockout to Reyes. 2 back-to-back first-round knockout losses. And we have Bukauskas coming off the first-round win against Paul Craig. I think Bukauskas is going to do bad things to Nikita Krylov. I think Bukauskas is going to stop him. I think we're going to see Bukauskas break into the top 15. He's good. Bukauskas is top 15. And I look at the top 15 of the light heavyweight division, and I look at Bukauskas, and I'm like, I don't know about him beating, the Volkan Uzdemirs or the Azamat Mirzakhanovs, or even the side of like a Johnny Walker is a wild fight. But I do really feel like an aging Nikita Krylov, who had lost back-to-back fights by knockout, and he hadn't lost by legit knockout before. This would be the first time. It was the first time last year. Sorry. This would be the third time. And he's lost 2 in a row by knockout. That's a bad sign when a guy has notorious durability and then starts getting knocked out. That's a red flag. And the red flag is that Nikita Krylov's chin is gone, and now we got Bukauskas, who's coming off a big knockout. That's showing more power. That's deceptively athletic. He can do backflips and shit. I love this fight. And I'm picking Bukauskas right now for you guys, just so you know. Early prediction. I'm going Bukauskas all day. I'm a big Bukauskas fan. You guys been following the channel. I've been pretty high on Bukauskas since he made his UFC return. And I do think that he could buzzsaw through a guy like Nikita Krylov. And I'm happy we got it on the card because Bukauskas is definitely a fun one at 205 pounds. I like him a lot. Now, I want to jump to the featured prelim. Okay? For the featured prelim, I want to deliver some, I don't know, I guess could I call it absolute madness? I think that I could call it absolute madness. I actually am torn between 2 fights on the featured prelim of the night. It's not that I don't think between the two, either one could be on the main card. But I just think that upside of potential, Steve Garcia, he's a guy you want to showcase. And you might be thinking, but Josh Emmett just lost to Yusuf Zalal in the first round. Yes, he did. But he's at 40-something now. So he's going to want to get back out there quick. And the reason I think the Steve Garcia fight happens is Garcia made the call out to Josh Emmett. Yusuf Zalal, I don't see taking this fight at this time. I don't know. I just don't think it's that likely that he fights a Steve Garcia. And I think the striker's delight, and to be fair, if you do Steve Garcia versus Yusuf Zalal, a fighter that has championship, title challenger aspirations and potential gets knocked off. I don't think Steve Garcia is going to lose to Josh Emmett. But the question is, can Steve Garcia chin Josh Emmett? Beating Josh Emmett by armbar is badass. But if you knock him out, which I think Steve Garcia is very live to do, the hype on Steve Garcia goes through the roof, and it's the featured prelim of Paramount. Now Steve Garcia is in a spot where he can fight somebody in the real top. Like right now, Josh Emmett, he's holding on to a ranking. He's currently ranked in number 10. And Steve Garcia, he's getting close. He's ranked number 8, but it's like he doesn't have that signature win. He's ranked ahead of Josh Emmett, but he hasn't beaten a guy with a big enough name. And you could do 7 versus 8, Zalal versus Garcia, but I know how the UFC match makes. And I think the UFC is going to look to give Steve Garcia, I don't want to say it's a freebie. It's not. He just beat another prospect in David Onama, but they're going to give him the old guard, and they're going to look to give him the showcase chance. And if he goes out and he chins Josh Emmett in violent fashion, now you can put Steve Garcia against somebody amongst the elites. You can put him against Yair Rodriguez. You can put him against, John Silva or Arnold Allen, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now he's in a different position. Like, some people I know, they'll say, bro, but Josh Emmett versus Patricio Pitbull, that's a battle of guys that the UFC knows doesn't have real championship potential. Are they really that interested in it? They were ready to give Pitbull Los Anquita on a debut. Are they really in the Pitbull business? I think the UFC is in the Steve Garcia business. And I think though he's fighting behind him in the rankings, as far as legacy, this is a former title challenger and Josh Emmett, rather interim title, but still, it's a Josh Emmett that's fought the who's who. The Josh Emmett that's beaten good guys, that's lost to some good guys as well. Josh Emmett with some serious power. Josh Emmett that likes to strike. I think this is a good striker's delight. And for the Paramount deal, I think matching things up in a certain way is the smartest way. I want to see these two face off. I want to see Josh Emmett. I want to see Steve Garcia. And I think Steve Garcia does chin him. And I think Steve Garcia really does gain a ton of momentum from this win. I'm going to predict that they do this. I'm going to predict that they give Steve Garcia Josh Emmett. I want to watch. And I think Steve Garcia is a huge favorite. But I think Steve Garcia goes out and probably squashes him. But I definitely think we have an entertaining fight to watch. So, yeah, I like this for the feature prelim. Now, to start off the main card, I expect a bit of pushback against this. To start off the main card, you guys might say I'm nuts. Derek Lewis versus Ante D'Elia. I would have done Derek Lewis versus Waldo, but there's the rumor mill that Waldo is going to be fighting maybe against Curtis Blades next week or the week after. Not 100%, not confirmed, but the UFC is looking to get him a fight to close out the year. And I know you might be thinking, but Ante D'Elia just lost to Waldo. Yes. But I also look at it like this. Derek Lewis hasn't been on a main card in a while, but it's kind of a casual's delight to have a Derek Lewis fight on a main card. Like, to me, I view this as a chance to deliver a highlight reel knockout. There is a serious chance Derek Lewis violently chins Ante D'Elia, and then he can go on this final title trek. I think it would be a mistake not to put Derek Lewis on this card. And I know some people are going to be like, but Derek Lewis, though, he's still ranked number 8 in the world. Okay, Derek Lewis is coming off back-to-back wins by KO. He knocked out Brazilian prospect Talison Teixeira last time in a big upset. And now Ante D'Elia, who burst onto the scene with the Marcin Tybura win, and he's also ranked just 1 behind Derek Lewis. I think it's the perfect fight for D-Lew. If it's not Waldo, I'm down with the Waldo fight as well. I love Waldo versus Derek Lewis. Granted, Waldo probably deserves Volkov, a number 1 contender fight, or Blades, to be fair. But if that's not available, I love the Derek Lewis-Waldo fight because it's a battle of knockout punchers. But the D'Elia fight makes sense. I mean, D'Elia, he had some moments against Waldo before eye gouging him and then getting knocked out after the reset. Waldo fighting with one eye and then Waldo fighting Shamil. Like, Waldo's next level. Badass. And him and D-Lew is a sick fight. But I do think a win for Derek Lewis, it's never bad to have a guy like Derek Lewis amongst the elites, and especially with this deal on Paramount. Derek Lewis getting a 3rd win in a row. It puts him in a position for a major fight. I think that this is kind of an investment for the first year because Derek Lewis wins this fight to start the year off. Then you get him again later in the year in a big fight, and he's going to bring a lot of eyes. Derek Lewis, he's easy to love, man. I feel like everybody that knows of, high-level heavyweights, they like a Derek Lewis fight. And Derek Lewis's style, you started off, you get a Derek Lewis knockout in the first round. And that kicks off the Paramount deal to start off the main card, right? It's also not a pay-per-view. It's not behind it's behind the paywall, but it's not behind the next level paywall. It's on Paramount. It's not behind the pay-per-view tag. A lot of eyes on it. Derek Lewis wins, and he looks impressive. Let's go. You might be thinking, oh, but what about a heavyweight prospect? Volter Walker versus Derek Lewis was my first option, but Volter Walker broke his leg, man. What am I supposed to do? You think that I wouldn't do Volter Walker, Derek Lewis if his leg wasn't broken? I absolutely would. Ante D'Elia is still pretty fun in the weight class. He's 35, so, he's still got time left. Derek Lewis, say what you want. Say what you want about D-Lew, but always delivers a good fight. Derek Lewis is pretty much must-see action every single time as well. And I'm looking at Derek Lewis, and I'm thinking he's got a good 2 years left. He's 40 years old. I think he's the type of guy that fights till 41. Maybe 1 year left. So let's have some fun on the Paramount deal. with Derek Lewis getting a big fight. If he goes out and knocks out Ante Delija, there's big opportunities. And Derek Lewis, I'm telling you, brings entertainment and he brings eyes. He hasn't been on a main card in a little bit. When's the last time Derek Lewis had a main card? Let me look this up because I need to see main card D-Lew. Derek Lewis, fight night main event, fight night main event. Okay, so he's a guy that fights in big fights. Fight night main event. He was on the main card in 2023 UFC 291. And he gave a highlight reel knockout to Marcos Ajiro de Lima as an underdog, who I picked at the time. People were sleeping on him. I think with 2 straight fight night main event wins, I think it's time we get Derek Lewis back on a main card. If Walter Walker was available, he is pick number 1 because that'd be a chance to build Walter Walker's stock and hype him up right away with the Paramount deal. But timing is of the essence. It's not available. Ante Delija is a cool fight. And I think if it's not Waldo, if Waldo doesn't get a fight to close out the year, I like Waldo D-Lew as well. But I do think Ante Delija is going to want to get back out there pretty quick. He's looking to right that wrong of the bad knockout loss, and I think there's a real chance he gets knocked out back-to-back if you give him D-Lew. So include me on the D-Lew train and bringing him to Paramount. Let's debut him to some new eyes, and probably the last 2 years of his career, there's still going to be some fun fights left for him. All right. Next fight that I'm going to bring up. This is a matchup that I thought made a ton of sense. Second fight on the main card. Arnold Allen versus John Silva is the perfect fight. John Silva, ton of hype, fan favorite. Arnold Allen, absolutely, if you watch him fight, he'll be a fan favorite too. And he just like needs that chance. I don't know why. I feel like he resonates with a small percentage of fans, but like his style is great. He nearly beat Movsar Evloev. Went 5 rounds with Max Holloway. Arnold Allen is good. He's been out for a while though. And John Silva, Arnold Allen is probably a sick kickboxing match. I think that John could stop takedown attempts from Allen. The winner of this fight puts himself back amongst the elite. The problem is, I saw this on X. Arnold Allen said, nope. He said no. So rumor mill is that this fight is on 324. But Arnold Allen posted nope. Is he trolling us? I don't know. There's been rumors that he was going to move up to 155. So let me take into consideration my choice, number 1, if it's at 145, Arnold Allen versus John Silva. But the rumor is Arnold Allen is on this card. So if it's Arnold Allen, John Silva, 2 thumbs up from me. Bam. But if it's not Arnold Allen, John Silva, he drops, or rather he goes up to 155 pounds. Or maybe Fiziev's dropping to 45. I don't know. Maybe something's going to surprise us. Bam. The Fiziev fight. I kind of spoiled it by saying it. Rafael Fiziev versus Arnold Allen is sick too. Now, I will say, if Fiziev is down at 45 rather than Allen going up to 55, I want to see Fiziev versus John Silva. I think it would be stupid not to do that. But the rumor mill is that Arnold Allen is on this card versus somebody, and they think it's John Silva, but he's also teased going up to 55. So there's a chance that we might end up witnessing the Fiziev fight. Either way, Fiziev versus Allen, Fiziev versus Silva, Allen versus Silva. Any of those matchups between the 3 of them suffices to me. I am so down for all of it. It would be violence, it would be entertainment, and it would be badass shit regardless. And I think we'd have such cool matchups because all those guys bring high-level striking skills and entertaining pressure styles. But yeah, man, either one works for me. I'm happy with all of it. I'm happy with every single one of it. I'm down with it all. I look at the matchup between Fiziev and Allen, and at 145, Arnold Allen is a demon, bro. He knocked out Dan Hooker in the first round. People forget, dude. People forget, man. I'm telling you right now, Arnold Allen versus Fiziev would be a sick fight and real close. And if it's Arnold Allen versus John Silva, that's sensational too. My God. So we'll see. The rumor is Allen's on this card versus John Silva, but he's saying no. We'll find out. We'll find out. Maybe it's Gamrot versus Arnold Allen. I doubt it. Maybe it's John Silva versus Fiziev. That could work too. There's a lot of different ways to spin it. I don't know. The UFC knows. I don't know. At this point, this is the rumor mill fight, but it's also a fight that regardless of the rumor, I would put together. But I needed to put a caveat option simply because if the UFC is not booking this fight and Arnold Allen's cryptic tweet of nope is actually true, then maybe it's Arnold Allen confirming he's fighting, but it's against Fiziev instead, which is cool as hell too. So either option is fantastic. And if maybe John Silva's the one that's on the card and they do John Silva Fiziev, that's cool. But I don't know. I don't know. Something tell me Arnold Allen's fighting this UFC 324 card. Good little comeback. The John Silva fight makes a lot of sense to me, but maybe John Silva's not ready after the bad loss of Diego Lopez. Remains to be seen. Next up, we got the featured fight. Bam. The casual's delight. We need Sean O'Malley on this card. Listen, he's too popular. It would be a mistake to not do Sean O'Malley versus Song Yadong on UFC 324. The rumor is Song Yadong has a fight booked on this card. And I know Sean O'Malley's looking at a comeback fight. And I think the Paramount debut with one of the bigger stars in the UFC, Sean O'Malley, versus a guy in Song Yadong that poses an interesting threat with his explosiveness is such a good featured fight of the night. My God, I think this would be sensational. I look at how it matches up stylistically. Distance striking from O'Malley, good ability to close distance and rip power punches from Song Yadong. 3-round fight. I expect a high-paced technical kickboxing style from O'Malley and pressure from Song. Song has the power to hurt O'Malley. O'Malley has the technicality to get a lot of shots through, though, and he could catch Song Yadong coming in. This is such a great fight. I hope the UFC is actually booking this, but I view it as perfect right now because Sean O'Malley starting off the Paramount deal and getting him back in the mix, needed. You have to do this. You have to put this together. And Song Yadong winning, he hasn't fought Merab. And if he goes out and beats Sean O'Malley, there's at least a new challenger for Merab. Obviously, Merab is fighting next weekend against Petr Yan, but the masses will agree probably Merab. And still, I mean, that's my prediction. But I view this as like, well, if Song Yadong beats Sean O'Malley, I mean, he could be next in line for the title. And if Sean O'Malley wins, an Umar Nurmagomedov fight is such a dope matchup to make. That'd be a 5-round main event on a fight night card for sure, or a special 5-round co-main. And that could be, you know, if O'Malley goes out and beats Umar Nurmagomedov, like he could end up getting a Petr Yan fight 3, to be honest. Petr Yan fight 3. He could end up getting a Merab fight 3, to be honest with you. I want to see how the stylistic clash goes. I do favor O'Malley's slickness, though. I don't think Song Yadong is taking him down. And I think O'Malley from distance is going to be trouble. And this is the featured fight, a 3-round bantamweight banger between one of the UFC's biggest stars and an exciting guy like Song Yadong that hasn't fought for the belt yet. Perfect way to do the Paramount debut featured fight. Now, for the co-main event on Paramount, we need to do the DEI co-main. Okay, listen. Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes. The rumor mill is this is the main event. I promise you that is misinformation. But it's not that it won't be on the card. They want to showcase some ladies. We want to kick off Paramount showing that the UFC, listen, it's not a sexist organization. We put a women's fight in the co-main event between the women's GOAT and the current bantamweight champion. This is a fight that will take place on UFC 324. I see it. Amanda Nunes has been the testing pool for a while, okay? And this fight has been rumored for a bit. And I look at Kayla Harrison and I think, yeah, she needs to fight by now. Like, we need to book something. And I think the rumors coming out that this is the headliner are wrong. This is going to be the co-headliner. This is going to be the co-main event. The women's championship fight, the biggest women's fight they can make right now. Amanda Nunes, the legend, and the current champ, Kayla Harrison, who looks like a destroyer of worlds. It's a perfect co-main event. I have no issues with this fight as a co-main event. Now, if this is the main event to kick off the Paramount card, I am genuinely upset. The rumor mill is all around. I'm seeing it on X. I'm seeing, hey, they're going to be doing these ladies going after it as the main event. I think everybody's wrong. Kayla Harrison, Amanda Nunes being targeted for UFC 324 on January 24th, okay? Exactly. Being targeted, right? The rumor mill is that it was going to be the headliner. No, that's not true. It will be on the card. It is going to be the co-main event, and I am cool with it as the co-main event. It is a badass women's fight. Who doesn't want to watch Amanda Nunes fight? And Kayla Harrison with the takedown threat and Amanda Nunes coming off the layoff. This is a legitimate challenge for the side of Amanda Nunes. I'm intrigued. I think the power of Nunes could get to Kayla, but what if Amanda Nunes comes back looking a little slow? Ring rust is a real thing. She looks a little bit delayed. They'll step behind. The takedown's there for Kayla Harrison. Harrison getting on top, wearing Nunes down. Nunes gasses. Somehow Kayla finishes her. I mean, shit, there could even be a damn rematch between the two. So I think it's a good investment to go Paramount debut women's championship fight, co-main event, not main event. I want to get to the main event. I've been making you guys wait. We're about to hit the 40-minute mark, and that's exactly where I wanted to bring it in. In the main event of the evening, they go towards one of the biggest fights they can make right now. Ilia Topuria versus Paddy Pimblett. Yes, this is the fight that will be had. And I hear people saying, but Arman Sarukian, amazing. He deserves it. He's the #1 contender. He was supposed to fight Makhachev. He just win last week. What? Arman Sarukian will eventually get his crack and his deserved crack. But Paddy Pimblett and Ilia Topuria have already faced off. Okay? There's already the promo reel to run. And Topuria himself has said, if I cannot get a fight against Islam Makhachev up in weight, which he shouldn't, he should have to defend the belt 2 times. He should have to beat Arman Sarukian. The Paddy Pimblett fight, let's start the Paramount deal off right and let's get him back in 4 months versus Arman. Or maybe let's do the Arman fight at the White House card, something like that. I think we need to see it. Arman Sarukian, though he buzzsawed through Dan Hooker, is he ready for an 8-week turnaround? Maybe, but does the UFC want to risk it? Does he want to, let's have him turn around? But he pulled out of that Islam fight the fight week of, threw the whole card off. And for Paramount, too risky. Paddy Pimblett is the hype. Paddy Pimblett is the name. Paddy Pimblett has the celebrity appeal, okay? And Ilia Topuria is a monster, a destroyer of worlds, an absolute savage. And you look right now at the pound-for-pound rankings in the UFC, Ilia Topuria ranked number 2. Now, Paddy Pimblett is currently ranked as the number 5, okay, in the lightweight division. But you have to give the credit in some ways to this. Undefeated in the UFC, beat Michael Chandler easily, more impressively than Charles Oliveira did in their rematch, right? Obviously destroyed Bobby Green. I look at it and I think, yeah, that undefeated UFC record, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-0 in the UFC. Already, why'd they allow him? Already getting in the cage and facing off with Ilia Topuria. Like, that's the sign that they're going to put this fight together. As much as Arman Sarukian is deserving of a championship challenge, Paddy Pimblett has the hype to do it. And Ilia calling his name constantly. The beef they had with the hand sanitizer boy years ago. I think it's the fight they're going to make. They're going to go towards a Paramount debut of star power over everything. They want to draw the most eyes possible. And outside of Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev, or Alex Pereira versus Tom Aspinall or John Jones, or Tom Aspinall versus John Jones, this is probably, for the whole world, if you include more of a casual audience, the most likely fight that people are going to tune into. This is it. This is the one. It's Ilia Topuria versus Paddy Pimblett. And yes, Ilia Topuria should be a -300 favorite, -250. But there is the question, well, Paddy Pimblett, he hasn't lost in a long time, okay? Paddy Pimblett, he's 5'10". He's going to have a bit of a size advantage over Ilia Topuria, right? He's 5'10", 73-inch reach. Like, there's things to like about Paddy Pimblett's style. He's a really good grappler. Now, obviously, Ilia Topuria just destroyed Charles Oliveira, who's still got some fight left in him, let me tell you. He looked amazing against Gamrot. A short notice Gamrot, but still looked amazing. But 5'7" to 5'10", there's like the weight, but look at the size difference between the two. There's that element of the what-if factor. 4-inch reach advantage for the side of Paddy Pimblett. Undefeated Ilia Topuria, 17-0 as a pro. But, you know, it's not like Paddy Pimblett on this nice win streak and being 23-3 as a pro. It is not an intriguing fight. And stylistically, like, Pimblett's jiu-jitsu poses a threat to Ilia Topuria. Do I think Ilia loses? No, I think he absolutely can disprove the claims that the Scousers don't get knocked out. I think they're live to get knocked out here. I think Pimblett is very live to get chinned by Ilia Topuria. But the Sarukian fight still exists. The Sarukian fight is still there. The UFC is thinking the same way as I. Paddy Pimblett, Ilia Topuria is huge right now. Let's kick off Paramount with that banger. Let's do it as the main event. And the Sarukian fight later this year is a proper championship fight between #1 contender and champion, and regardless of who would win, right? If Paddy did pull it off, the Sarukian fight is still there. If you do Sarukian versus Topuria, and then you do Paddy versus Gaethje, what happens if Paddy gets caught by Gaethje? Because that would be the next fight. What happens then? Paddy's out of the picture. They lose the chance to do a mega fight right now that sells. Yes, Paddy Pimblett, resume-wise, biggest win, Michael Chandler. Is it as impressive as Arman Sarukian, who was scheduled to fight Islam, you know, has the big win over Dan Hooker recently, you know, beat Beneil Dariush by knockout impressively, has the close decision, some will say controversial decision against Oliveira, but he fought Oliveira. Maybe not. But this is more about star power that sells to kick off the Paramount deal. Paddy Pimblett brings a nation with him on his back as far as the hype goes. And I think him versus Ilia Topuria, because of the past encounter, the beef, the stare off in the damn octagon after Topuria's championship win, it would be a mistake not to capitalize on the momentum right now and place these two against one another as the main event of the Paramount debut at UFC 324. This is the fight. This is the fight. I think Ilia Topuria probably gets him, but this is the fight. And I absolutely love the card that I've put together for UFC 324. I think if the UFC followed suit and they were able to create this card, it would be a hell of a way to kick things off for the Paramount deal with a numbered event. Technically, it's not a pay-per-view anymore, but a numbered event that had superstar Ilia Topuria in pound-for-pound number 2 versus superstar on the rise right now in Paddy Pimblett fighting for the belt, and then co-main event, the best women going after it, right? Sean O'Malley, mega casual name, absolute former champ, Slick Striker versus Song Yadong, who never fought Marab, because, you know, if you do Sean O'Malley versus Umar on this card, like, they both fought Marab, right? At least Song hasn't fought Marab, and if he wins, you can put Song Yadong in a title shot. Arnold Allen on the card is sensational versus John Silva. That's perfect. If it's Fiziev, that's sick too. Derek Lewis, give him a big knockout chance. Get him back in the mix. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's a good investment. And then you got a good fight night main event with Derek Lewis versus whoever later on in the year. And we don't have too many Derek Lewis fights left, so I need to pick and choose. Waldo would be an option, but Waldo might be fighting soon. So then instead, we go for the D'Elia fight, get him a nice knockout, and then bam, he's in the mix. And if D'Elia happens to win, well, he's back in the mix too. But I think D'Lu would probably get him. I think that I have created a perfect UFC 324 card, but I want to hear from you guys in the comments. Do you agree with my main event take? Ilia Topuria, Paddy Pimblett for all the marbles. To kick things off right is the star-studded main event. Do you like the women's co-main? Do you like the Sean O'Malley fight? Let me know in the comments what you think of my UFC 324 card. I am very curious to see how many fights that I believe should be on this card are actually booked. Is the UFC maybe going to watch this video and copy it 1-to-1? That'd be pretty dope. Do we see Ilia Topuria versus Paddy? I think so. I'll be damned if they do Kayla Harrison, Amanda Nunes as the kickoff main event for the Paramount deal. They're not going to do it. I know some people have talked about, oh, but Pereira Olberg, nah, they're going to do it later. I don't see Pereira Olberg. If they do it, that's fine, but I don't see Pereira Olberg as the fight to start things off. It's Ilia Topuria, Paddy Pimblett. Because of the pre-fight build, the UFC can also show us what Paramount is going to do as far as pre-fight production. We need something new. We need something more exciting. Like, I want better pre-fight build for the UFC. The embeddeds are kind of getting stale. The countdowns are all right. Every other one is good. Let's see what Paramount can make happen. And I think having a main event of this magnitude to kick off the deal is a must, all right? Make sure you guys smash the like button. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Make sure you subscribe it up. Let me know in the comments if you enjoy this style of video. I'll do more videos like this if you guys like what you're seeing. So make sure you smash the likes. Make sure you subscribe. And make sure you hype the video too. That's the new thing YouTube has going down. And definitely let me know in the comments what you thought of all the matchups that I set forth. I'll see you all in the next one. Happy Thanksgiving as well to the people watching. Much love. Peace out.